a society becomes corrupt at the center, corrupt, dysfunctional, indebted, mismanaged, people move to the sides. The center cannot hold, and the center doesn't hold. People move to the extremes, and they move to both extremes.
Climate change as an issue doesn't respect borders. No one thinks that climate stops at the Canadian border or stops at the Mexican border. So it's perfect for the global agenda. If you're trying to push global solutions, you need a global problem. And what better global problem than climate change, because there are no borders.
You know, the U.S. economy was weakening fundamentally, structurally, and the pandemic was not so much a bolt from the blue that caused some kind of disaster. It was more like it just pushed something that was already crumbling, you know, over an edge. Neither the government nor the market are no longer serving the interests of the citizenry than the common good. They're actually mostly serving the interests of the few, like an elite.
They want to completely debauch all the money in the world. They want to suck up the future and waste it on religious rites like windmill totem poles and druidical sun henges that use up more of the precious surface of the planet to produce less energy than any previous system we've deployed.
If you have a basic understanding of what money is, then you can understand that they can't just create that from thin air.
But it's a political thing based on pure Trumpery and pure fake news is climate change, if I've ever seen it. Yeah. And COVID is mostly fake news.
Whether it was conscious or not, the policy was we're going to emphasize or prioritize corporate profits above national security and above maintaining a middle class as part of that national security.
And so what ends up happening typically in hospitals when you continuously are disinfecting is that you get a lot of stuff that survives and thrives because there's no competition. There's plenty of food, there's plenty of space.
The COVID pandemic was a gift to the globalists and the power elite that we just discussed. Because the easiest way, you can give orders all you want, but the easiest way to get people to go along, to follow orders, is fear. And this was used to instill fear.
When money really gets debauched, it is no longer a guide for entrepreneurs. So entrepreneurs really have to gauge other signals that come from the central banks that falsify most of the values. And so new forms of measurement are emerging.
In technology, if you don't understand trends, you're just not going to understand, you know, the computer revolution or the internet or the genetic revolution or AI or all this stuff. But you also have to understand those trends insofar as they affect the society. And I think we're on a path to be really destructive towards one another.
I do, because I think that humans as a social animal, there's a lot of evidence that we're extremely attuned to fairness. In other words, we're willing to join a hierarchy, but there has to be a sense of fair play and fairness, or, you know, like equality before the law is how we put it in the modern terms. And when something is rigged against us, then we eventually, you know, rebel, because that's just not the way we're wired.
As a nation, I think we're acting in a very unethical way towards each other.
To me, it more than anything, it's not always this, and it's not only this, but it's bad money.
How else do you explain $7 trillion of deficit spending in the last 2 years? It took us 230 years to get to 22 trillion in debt, and we've added $7 trillion in 2 years.
We're living in a phantasmagoria, a chimerical world, ruled by clowns.
Where's democracy when somebody can shut everybody down?
When societies don't keep supporting research, science, innovation, they die.
It's totally insane to me. You guys were pioneers. I hope I can only be a fraction as successful as you guys.
Your voice was a voice that 10, 15 years ago when I sort of started on a journey of having to rediscover a certain aspect of finance, you guys were a huge influence for me. You had a profound impact on my life.
I read your book, one of them back in 2008, I believe. So I've read that book, so I've known you for a long time and followed you and had a lot of great respect for you. So yeah, it's odd that we haven't met after all this time, so I'm glad we are.